Thank you, Ambassador Diane Gashumba, previously Minister of Health in Rwanda, for joining us today, and we appreciate that you have time talking to us. We are going to talk about some difficult subjects like the conflicts in Rwanda. So I would like to ask you to give us an overview of the current situation. How is Rwanda today for ordinary citizens and tourists, if we begin with the simple questions? Is it safe to live in Rwanda, and is it safe for foreigners to travel to Rwanda?
Yeah, I would say that there is no conflict in Rwanda, and it's very safe to live in Rwanda, as it has been for the past 30 years. Rwanda is a safe country, and we really invested in our safety and our security, and tourists, visitors, investors are very welcome to Rwanda, now, like yesterday and tomorrow.
Okay, because the picture you get when you read media in Sweden and so on in the West is that there is some kind of conflict in Rwanda and that it's dangerous to go there. But what's that all about?
I would say that it's not true. There is no war in Rwanda. There is no conflict in Rwanda. There is a conflict and crisis in DRC, a neighboring country, and it's not a new situation. DRC has been unsafe for the past 40 years, hosting more than 200 armed groups. So the crisis is happening in DRC, but I would say that there is a media war. Mm-hmm. Portraying Rwanda as the host of a conflict or the cause of a conflict, and it's a propaganda, very well thought for propaganda and prepared propaganda to destroy and to attack the development Rwanda has been putting in place and working tough to build. So it's very well prepared, but the reality is something else. We are a safe country. There is no conflict. We just have strong defensive measures to prevent anything that can cross from the DRC that is unstable and destabilize Rwanda.
But when you talk about DRC, for the listeners and the viewers, you mean Congo, right?
Yeah, Democratic Republic of Congo.
So there is a conflict in Congo, but not in Rwanda?
Yes.
On February 27, 2025, the Swedish Minister of Foreign Affairs summoned the Rwandan ambassador to Stockholm, urging Rwanda to withdraw its troops from the territory of Congo and condemning the ongoing offensive by Rwanda and M23 in eastern Congo. What's your comment on that?
My comment on that is that the Swedish government is addressing a wrong issue that doesn't exist. So the issue is President Tshisekedi not protecting his citizens, persecuting M23, killing them, discriminating them. We have 100,000 refugees in Rwanda for the past 25 years. Uganda hosts 300,000 refugees, and for a reason. They flee the country for a reason. The government of Sweden doesn't address this. We have a threat. FDR is in DRC, attacking Rwanda, and it's an ideology. The government of Sweden doesn't say anything about this. They just, they told me, we have to do what UN Security Council does. You have to do like EU. My question is, don't they have their own stand? A country that is rich in researchers and preach for equality and dialogue, just summoning and repeating what EU and UN Security Council say, but nothing about what the threat I mentioned. So for me, they are addressing the wrong problem, and it will not give any solution to the existing problem. And my answer to them is, Rwanda cares about its citizens, we care about our security, because we tested the worst test, that is a genocide against the Tutsi. And for any reason, we will not go back to this, we will not take anything for granted. My response to them, they even told me, your argument, we've been talking about this, your argument have disappeared. I told them, my argument are still there. They never disappeared in my mind or in the mind of any wise Rwandan who knows what happened in Rwanda. I told them, maybe you don't understand what a genocide is, maybe, and I don't wish you to really to test it. That's the difference. We know what we went through. I'm a live testimony, so sitting there and telling me there is no threat, FDLR is not a threat, this is an understatement of what FDLR is. For them, it's a matter of maybe numbers. I don't even know if they know the numbers of the FDLR members. For us, losing one life, smelling a genocide is huge because we've had this. We cannot afford having this again.
In 1994, there was a conflict between Hutu and Tutsi, right? Can you tell us briefly, if it's possible, what was that all about?
Of course. I wouldn't even call it a conflict between Hutus and Tutsi. It was a genocide against the Tutsi. Hutus, and supported by the government by then, Habyarimana government, supported by some Western countries, including France, killed million Tutsis just because they were Tutsis.
Eve works in the MSF clinic by the side of the road, trying not to think about home.
Would you go back? When? Nowadays, I don't think so, because we are afraid to return there. If we return, we know that we will be killed, will be dislayed, and no one will survive. So we prefer to stay here and be killed by the disease and hunger.
What is your attitude towards it? This is the land Eve now calls home. It's volcanic rock. You can't farm it, you can't build on it, you can't live on it. You can die on it, but they can't bury you in it. Which is why the road from Goma is littered with bodies, taken out each morning like Africa's trash, to be collected each day, then dumped in deep trenches now overflowing. 2,000 Rwandans, 2,000 human beings are dying each day now from dysentery, dehydration, and cholera. That's more than one every minute. By the end of this broadcast, 40 more will be gone, and tomorrow morning their bodies will join the others by the side of the road.
And as you know, a genocide doesn't happen overnight. It was prepared. There were all the steps, like the Holocaust, all the steps were followed. That's why the UN accepted to call it, to name it a genocide against the Tutsi. So all the steps of a genocide were really well followed. So there was a genocide against the Tutsi that was stopped on the 4th of July, 1994 by the Rwandan Patriotic Front led by President Kagame. And people were helping each other. We were one nation, Banyarwanda, until the Belgians come as colonizers and use these socio-economic classes to divide us and rule us. So they portrayed these socioeconomic classes as ethnic groups. So they put in place artificial differences to divide the Rwandans. They went to the extent of measuring the length of the noses and say those with a long nose are Tutsis, tall people are Tutsis. So that's how they really managed to divide us. And they're giving privilege to one group and really starting to brainwash the communities. And
how?
Telling, for example, one group you are smarter, you are intelligent, these ones are not, and giving benefits and privileges to one group, including allowing some to go to school and not to others. And it was a continuous brainwash, and they also used the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church also played an important role in dividing Rwandans that were one nation, led by a king. The king of Rwanda was the king for everyone. There were no differences. So they use morphological differences that don't make any sense, and they managed years after years to brainwash people and to divide Rwandans. So this hate started between Tutsis and Hutu because they were the majority. The Tutsi were even left behind. So that's how it started. And I would say that our colonizers, who are Belgians, are the causes.
It was only in April 2000 that the Belgian Prime Minister, Guy Verhofstadt, went to Kigali in Rwanda and said, "In the name of my country and of my people, I beg your forgiveness."
It created hate among a population that were used to live together, to share everything. There were union, marriage between Tutsis and Hutus, because this, as I said, this was only socio-economic classes. So, but they made it something else, and they also made sure that they put this as a label in our IDs. The consequence is that for seats in schools, for jobs, they attributed quotas to Tutsis, very limited quotas. So, for example, they were like 5% of Tutsis can go to school, not more. So they gave all the benefit to Hutus. So that was a long preparation, and the result was discrimination. Discrimination and undermining people and frustrating them, and so the right to basic right was not to everyone.
So it was the Belgians who orchestrated all this.
Yes.
And why? Can you explain that again? Why would they do that?
There is a proverb that says divide to rule. As simple as that. I think they realized that Rwandans, they were really united. The king was for everyone, and for them to be able to rule this nation that was united. So they came up with this strategy to divide the people, to be able to rule them and to do whatever they wanted to do.
What about the Berlin Conference? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Berlin Conference in 1884.
1884.
Yeah, 1884. They drew, Germans and Belgians, they drew the borders. They revised the borders. Rwanda used to be a big country, so they randomly drew new borders, and the consequence was that some Rwandans retrieved themselves in DRC. Others retrieved themselves in Uganda. Others in Tanzania. Same thing with the Maasai communities between Tanzania and Kenya. So, a territory of Rwanda was put on the side of DRC and side of Uganda. So families were scattered overnight. So these new borders again We can say
because they ended up on different sides of the borders.
So, yeah, that's why we have Congolese now who speak Nyarwanda, because after independence, countries certain decided not to revise the borders because it would have been chaotic. So they agreed that people who retrieve themselves in Congo will be given the citizenship, Congolese. Same thing for Uganda, they did the same, they gave them the Ugandan citizenship, and in Tanzania. The only difference is that the Democratic Republic of Congo authorities never practically recognized these people they inherited from the Berlin Conference as Congolese. So they were never given their human rights, fundamental rights like elections, IDs, citizenship, the right of a citizen. So they were persecuted, discriminated across years, and even told to go back from where they came from. So meaning go back to Rwanda. But go back to Rwanda, how? This is our land. This is their motherland. So that's actually one of the root causes of the conflict we are talking about today. Discrimination and non-respect of basic rights of these people that didn't ask to retrieve themselves on the side of the DRC.
If you give us a few examples, what is Belgium taking from? What have they been taking from Rwanda over the years? Because if they have interest, I guess they take something.
Good question. I think it's a mentality. They never.
What about natural resources?
Yeah, natural resources from Congo. We have a list of companies. I will give you the list of Belgian companies that have been exploiting minerals from Congo from 1925 until recently, when they sold the company to Canadians. So they have been exploiting Congolese minerals, and the benefit was going to Belgians and not to Congolese. So illegal mining activities have been ongoing since 1925 until very recently, and maybe even now they have other companies. But there are names of companies, I will give them to you. So they have been exploiting.
So these companies are stationed in both Rwanda and in Congo?
In Congo.
In Congo. So not in Rwanda?
Congo, no, Congo. In Congo.
Okay. So is it the proximity that is interesting for them? Because they rule Rwanda, and they get minerals and stuff from Congo. How is that working together?
They exploit minerals in Congo illicitly, legally, and you can understand when a country is not organized, when a country governance is corrupt, it allows these illegal activities. So for some Western countries, including Belgium, they don't want a stable Congo, because when a country is stable, is not corrupt, you have to go by law, you have to respect the law. So they have been doing this for the past 60 years, so it's difficult to change. If you have easy money and illegal activities. But for Rwanda, when it comes to Rwanda, they have been, actually, from what we see, they never accepted that Rwanda can be an independent country with our own opinion, with our own governance. They always try to interfere in our governance, criticizing us and cooperating with Genocide. And Genocide groups from Genocide live in Belgium. So we've been seeing actions against us. So we've tried to normalize the relationship. We've had even a cooperation through Enabel, Belgian cooperation, but always having at specific occasions, seeing this mentality of superiority, the Western supremacy. They never considered us as an independent governance that they have to respect us, we respect theirs.
So Rwanda reached independence in 1962, but is that 100% true, or are they still messing with the country?
They can't.
It seems like that.
They tried, but they did before 1994. We've had two presidents, Habyarimana and Kayibanda, who were also discriminating people. So this was, I would say, in line with the colonizer, the Belgians. Discrimination, persecution, Tutsis were killed even in 1959, 61, 62, 63, and also with this mentality of the Catholic Church. So I would say that from 1994, with the new government that has preached always Rwandan unity and reconciliation and justice, I would say that's when we've really put an end to this mentality and say we are an independent government. We don't need you to come and dictate us how to live, how to breathe, how to eat, how to do things, how to interact with other countries. We are an independent country, and that is difficult to cope with when you've been really thinking that this is still your colony. And so I would say from 1994, our president and the government stood firm and said, we want to rule our country as we wish, as Rwandans wish. We don't need orders from Western countries, from our former colonizers, and that has been irritating for some countries.
So your current president Kagame, he keeps fighting for independence, it seems like.
Yes, on a daily basis he kept fighting for any form of colonization, or even hidden colonization, any form of interference to the development of our country, and any form of even attempt to dictate us how to live, how to do things, because we have our own context. We are an independent country with a very particular background, with a very particular situation. We are still healing from the genocide against the Tutsi, and we're really, I would say, the international community failed us. We're left by our own to deal with the genocide, to lose our people, to deal with our pain and our all the issues, the consequences of the genocide. So it's really unacceptable that countries that didn't even help us to fight the genocide now want to come and tell us, you have to do this, you have to live like this, you have to follow this kind of democracy, you have to, it's unacceptable, even not for the president himself, for every Rwandan, for every pride and wise Rwandan.
So the Tutsis, do they live in Congo or in Rwanda, or can you explain the Tutsi and the Hutu, how they live in this area of Rwanda?
We have Tutsis in Congo, we have Tutsis in Burundi, we have Tutsis in Rwanda, we have them in Uganda, we have them in Tanzania, and I would say that these ethnic groups, Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa, were before the independence, before maybe 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, when we had the kingdom, we used to have these three socio-economic classes. They were socio-economic classes and established for a good purpose, for people to help each other and to help each other graduate from an economic class to another one. So, as I said, the genocide doesn't happen overnight, and it was really prepared for a long time, and they equipped the militia group. We've seen, I was in Rwanda, we've seen the militia group starting, the Interahamwe, supported by the political party of President Habyarimana, the MRND. We've seen this, and we've seen French military troops coming to Rwanda from 1990. And they were on the roadblock, on the road, asking us to show the IDs, discriminating us. We had this. And also at the UN Security Council and international community, people tried to alert the international community that there would be a genocide, including General Roméo Dallaire, who is from Canada, including some diplomats from specific countries. I'll give you the names. They raised their voice to say there is a genocide being prepared in Rwanda, but everyone closed his eyes, so there was no reaction. And Belgians that were also part of the troop that was sent to Rwanda, supposedly to keep peace, they left the country right before the genocide, even from a psychiatric hospital where there were patients, mental health, suffering from mental health diseases. They didn't rescue them. Even in Kitukiro Eto, they were there. They didn't rescue them. And they took their dogs and they left the country, leaving people to this militia group and the military group, government army that was actually part of the genocide. So I would say that the whole international community felt that they knew there was a genocide. Some didn't pay attention to this, maybe because we're a small country, maybe because it was in Africa. It was happening. Some people even tell you, even now, some people tell me, it was very far. We didn't pay attention to this because it was very far. It was in a small country. So I would say that the whole international community really felt as the genocide against the Tutsi could have been stopped if people had heard what General Roméo Dallaire was saying and many other people who tried to raise their voices. And also, the French army that was there not only supported the militia, trained them actually, they were training them, they were providing them with training, but they also, when the genocide was about to be stopped, they created a corridor to the militia and the government, the genocidal government. They created a corridor and escorted them to the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I would say they really played a role in this genocide against the Tutsi.
How is the cooperation between Rwanda and its neighboring countries like Uganda, Burundi, and Tanzania? Are you helping each other against these kind of atrocities? I
would say Rwanda tries as much as possible to have a good relationship with the neighbors, but what we saw in this specific crisis in DRC, there was around this crisis, there was really an ethnic ideology. It's an ideology because we've seen Burundian soldiers going to fight alongside the Wazalendo, the FDLR that killed a million lives, people in Rwanda, and the FRDC, and all these militia groups. So we've seen Burundi joining them. For which purpose? We've seen the president of Burundi preaching divisionism and saying that they will, and the president of Congo, they want to overthrow the governance in Rwanda, the president of Rwanda. The president of Burundi said he wants the youth of Rwanda to stand up and overthrow the government. So it's an ideology, ethnic ideology that was around this. And we've also seen South African troop going to fight alongside the FRDC and Wazalendo and FDLR to kill people from M23, to go and fight people from a neighboring country fighting for their rights. So we've seen the South African army also joining this negative ideology. But I'm sure you followed the news in the parliament, the South African parliament, where the MPs, members of parliament, held accountable the president of South Africa and the chief of defense, and specifying that they sent the South African army to go and fight for the personal interest of the president of this country, because apparently he owns companies that exploit minerals in DRC. So the fight was, there are many interests and many actors in this fight. And for some, it's an ideology to go and kill people who look like Tutsi, people who are affiliated to Rwanda. But for some, is minerals, personal interest.
For someone who don't know what is FDRL, FARDC, and Rosalind, could you please explain?
The FARDC is Force Armée de République Démocratique, National Army for DRC, and FDRR is the militia group that was in Hamwe that killed the people in 1994, while facilitated by the French troop to cross the border and go to Democratic Republic of Congo, South and North Kivu. And they were welcomed there. They were not disarmed, so the international laws were breached, violated, because normally when you receive a refugee armed group, you disarm them. It was never done. To the contrary, they integrated, the government of Congo integrated them into their government army, and they also part of the close protection of the President Tshisekedi. You have these FDR members as part, really very integrated in the Democratic Republic of Congo army. They were armed, they live with the MONUSCO, they live with the government army. They are really supported, and they also own minerals in these countries. So very well integrated.
Mm-hmm. The Congolese Revolution Army, known as M23, you mentioned them. From what I understand, they are supported by Rwanda, but they are not supported by Congo. Still, they are stationed in Congo. Is that correct?
You've heard many times leaders of M23 testifying that they are not supported by Rwanda. So for me, this question is not, for me, it's not a question that should even be asked. But as you rightly stated, it's the responsibility of the Democratic Republic of Congo to protect these people. They don't even, I wouldn't even use the word support them. They should be protected. They should enjoy the fundamental right of a citizen of DRC. And that is what I don't understand, because I always get this question from Nordic leaders, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Rwanda is backing up M23, but the question is, who is M23? Why do they even need to be supported? They should be enjoying their fundamental right and live peacefully like other Congolese citizens. So for me, it's even an irrelevant question.
The question is about to show if Rwanda has invaded RDC. I think it is
invaded.
Yes,
okay,
the
that's a distortion of the truth, and very well. It's not by chance, or it's not a coincidence. It's something they really prepared very well. It's to distort the truth. Rwanda didn't invade Congo, but FDRR invaded Rwanda many times, coming from Congo and going back very comfortably, killing people in the southern and western part of Rwanda. We've had 20 attacks. When I was Minister of Health, I went to visit a hospital full of bodies, people killed, burned on the road. So FDRR invaded Rwanda, but it's a distortion of the truth to say M23 invaded DRC. I even got this very surprising and strange question from one of the politicians in these Nordic countries, telling me that M23 invaded Congo. Then they didn't invade Congo because Congo is their country. They live in their country and they're deprived from of their right. So they have been always there by this Berlin conference. So saying they invaded Congo, it's really it's relevant.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But I based that question on what I could read, so we could clarify it here with you. Why do the EU and the UN say that M23 is killing people in Congo? If it's not M23, who is killing people in Congo? There was an interview in a channel I saw the other day. It was a spokesperson from M23, and he said that M23 have been accused of killing people in Goma, right? But he said that we were not even there when it happened. We came days after.
Both DRC and Western-backed human rights organizations have been accusing the M23 of committing war crimes. For instance, Western media claim that hundreds of women were raped and burned alive during the chaos that erupted after your group entered the Congolese town of Goma. What's your response to those accusations?
This is no allegation. These allegations are unfounded because before we liberated the town of Goma, 2 days before, that is where this prison of Musense was burnt alive. You have many people being raped. The women were raped. You have a massacre that happened in that town. And in the prison, you have women's cells burned, torched, and so many people were killed. This happened 2 days before we came in. And it is MONUSCO head, I think is the deputy operation of MONUSCO called Viviane Van de Peer, who actually confused the world and telling that these things happen when we're coming in. So this actually situation happened before we came in the town of Goma.
Do you know what's going on here?
I would say, as I said from the starting, that DRC is it's not a safe country, and the media has been focusing on this small part that is Kivu North and South for specific reasons. But on the whole territory of DRC, in Kinshasa, wherever, people are dying. Women are being raped. This country is called the capital of rape globally. It's there. If you go to Google, you'll find that Democratic Republic of Congo is called capital of rape. And the worst and biggest incidence and the worst intensity of rape is happening in this country. So saying that M23 is killing people in DRC, you've said it, the leaders of DRC said it, they were not even there. But what is happening on the other part of Congo where M23 is not? No one is talking about it, but it's there. It's on social media. The good thing, they don't even hide. They kill people, they burn them, they eat them, cannibalism. It's on social media. And the leaders like Minister of Justice, you see him on social media inciting people to kill Kinyarwanda speaking people. And people looking like Tutsi or looking like Rwandese. Even the Minister of Justice. You heard the Minister of Foreign Affairs when she was at the UN Security Council saying, you take sanctions against Rwanda. If you don't this, the street will take charge of this. And the next day, they did. People were on the street. They implemented what she said. It's an incitement to the population. So, who is killing people in DRC? You cannot have 200 armed group and be a peaceful country. They kill, they rape, they are there. They are listed. Even UN security, the UN condemned FDLR and named it a terrorist group. But it is still there, living alongside MONUSCO. And we've seen also these mercenaries, European mercenaries, what were they doing there? Killing innocent people, mercenaries from Europe. No one is talking about them. So if you tell me UN Security Council and EU is saying M23 is killing people, it's a lie. It's a lie, and I know it is a lie.
What are Western mercenaries doing there? Can you explain that again?
I don't... This question should be asked to President Tshisekedi. What they were doing there, they were hired to go and fight M23 alongside Wazalendo, alongside FDLR, alongside FRDC, alongside the Burundians, and SADC. It's called Sami DRC, South African. I will give you the name. So the mercenaries were paid to go and fight M23.
But I mean, who benefits from that?
Who benefits from that? Good question.
Is it the colonizers or is it these Congo?
I would say
government.
President Tshisekedi benefit from this because apparently he doesn't want this war to finish. He benefit from this chaos because he found a scapegoat, that is Rwanda. He failed to protect his citizens. He failed to fight corruption. He failed to uphold lives of his people. And who other benefit from this? Those who exploit minerals, because they are comfortable with this chaotic situation. Who benefit from this? FDR. They were born killers. They didn't want to change their mindset. They keep kill people in DRC. So I would say those are who benefit from.
So what you're
this
saying
chaotic.
is, during all this mess and chaos, it's a kind of a cover for mineral exploitation.
Mineral exploitation, and also those who have this ethnic genocide ideology.
It's just regional.
Yeah, from the FDR and others who joined them. But I believe it benefits them because it's the only thing they have been doing and they know to do, and they don't want to stop. I would say maybe it benefits them, their ideology, and all those who support them. When Goma was captured, we've seen things we couldn't imagine, because these people, this was Alendo, this FRDC, this SADC, army and the Burundians, and FDR, they were really well prepared to attack our country, to attack Rwanda. And they even shoot in Rwanda. There were people killed. I'll give you the number. When we saw this big equipment, we realized that actually Rwanda was about to be heavily attacked. And we were really thankful because our army and the leaders of army and our president kept telling us we have strong defensive measures. So without these defensive measures, I don't know where we would be now, where Rwandans would be, especially Rubavu, this district that is bordering DRC. So they had really well prepared their war to Rwanda, and actually it's a translation of what President Tshisekedi has been saying openly on social media, that he will be in Goma and shoot the whole Rwanda and erase Rwanda from the map and overthrow President Kagame. So he said it. We saw this equipment. They even shoot in Rwanda. So evidences are there, and no condemnation from Western countries.
Is it correct that Sweden and the United States are now sanctioning Rwanda?
Oh, there were sanctions from the US, from Canada, from the UK,
Belgium.
from Germany. From Germany, and we felt it was like a threat. If you don't do this, we're going to take sanctions. We're going to, Sweden hasn't, but EU, they are part of EU. It's kind of a threat. You cannot threaten us because we are fighting for our security. We are putting in place measures to defend our people. So it can't be a threat, and you do this or we do this. It's just an underestimate of the value of lives of people, because it's all about our lives.
Do you think that Sweden has any certain interest in Rwanda? Like, is there any Swedish companies that have interest in Rwanda?
No, we have a good cooperation with Sweden. We really have a very good cooperation with Sweden, and I'm really grateful as an ambassador. And it's a cooperation that based on research and education. Sweden is among the countries that have supported us right after the genocide through the SIDA, Swedish International Development Aid. We've trained more than 100 PhDs, more than 200 master's degrees. We have a good partnership with the private sector like the Norwegian, and we have a good partnership. More than 18 universities, and it benefits both. It benefits Sweden and our people, Rwandans. They grow their career. Swedish professors, they are exposed to research in Africa. It's a benefit. It's a mutual benefit. So I would say we benefit. We both benefit. We have an interest because we chose to build a cooperation, to start a cooperation. We have an embassy here. They have an embassy in Rwanda. So we have a good, really good cooperation. But for this specific problem, the attitude is unbelievable, I would say.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to understand. Sweden is cooperating with Rwanda and, in the same time, telling you what to do.
Telling us what to do and the wrong thing to do. Things we can't do, because if we do what they want, we are dead.
And they want you to do what?
They want us to sit and wait until FDR comes and kill other people. And they say the measures we take are disproportionate. How do you evaluate measures if you didn't face what is FDR? How do you measure the weight of measures that should be put? They don't know FDR. We know FDR. We know them. So they shouldn't.
What do you think? Why they protect them?
It's not that I think. They told me, literally and in a smart way. Sometimes, we are coming from Brussels. We have to do, like, even you see the statement when they summoned me, they said, like EU does, kind of. So for me, they follow what they are told. They don't, there is no dialogue. They don't assess what we tell them, the information. It's a one-side decision that they took. Belgium has been acting as if they are the expert of Rwanda, they are expert of the region, and Sweden doesn't have any colonial background. They didn't colonize us. We were expecting them to be neutral and to be objective. Unfortunately, from what we see, they followed what Belgium says and what EU says. I don't know what happens when they are sitting in a room, if they say, we just follow. But for me, evidences are there. It's that obvious, it's clear. And some countries were wise enough to say, we wait until this president meet, the president the heads of state, EAC and SADC have met, and the ministers have met, and the chief of army have met. This is a peace process, African solutions to Africans' problems. But EU have literally undermined this. They meet. The next day they meet in Brussels, they issue another statement. So I would say, okay, Sweden followed the group, I would say.
And what do you see, what is the solution? What needs to happen?
I believe the objective and wise things to do is to respect African leaders. When heads of state meet, East African and SADC, when they decided to meet and issue resolutions, and President Tshisekedi was part of the meeting, even if it was online, but he was there, the minimum is to give time to this resolution to be implemented. And there was a roadmap, and the roadmap have been very well followed. Ministers met, chief of armies met. They also nominated 3 facilitators, the former president of Kenya, Uhuru, and the former prime minister of Ethiopia, Haile Mariam. But immediately after, we've seen another statement from EU. Nothing to do with heads of African countries. For me, they should let Africans solve these issues in the right context because they know the context. That is one. The second thing is these sanctions. They recently announced, EU announced sanctions. And among these sanctions, M23 leaders sanctioned a company in Rwanda that is in charge of regulating mining and gas and oil. What does this have to do with the problem in DRC? So this is a barrier to the peace process, and you've seen the reaction of M23. They said you are no longer going. They were about to go and negotiate with President Tshisekedi. It was about to happen.
Just a few days ago.
A few days ago. And they said, and the result is we are not negotiating. And the FDRC started again killing people, burning villages, killing civilians. Then they made things worse, I would say. Another thing is that deliberately, some countries want to distort the truth and to divert the attention from the root causes. They want to compare this crisis with Russia and Ukraine, including some Nordic countries. It doesn't have anything to do. Rwanda cannot be compared to Russia. Even for a kid from kindergarten, you cannot compare Rwanda to Russia. You cannot compare the conflict in DRC with the conflict in... They say, we were tough with Russia, so if we are not tough with Rwanda, the population will question us, will hold us accountable. It doesn't make sense. And why don't you think the community, the population, your citizen will hold you accountable of not saying anything about FDR? So it doesn't match.
It seems like your voices representing your country as well as other countries in Africa are not heard. Somebody said that the African embassies in Stockholm, in Sweden, are not really visited by Swedish media.
Not only visited, we invite them, they don't come. You send them briefs, you send them evidences, they keep quiet. And some told us, actually, I have been always thinking that there is a freedom of speech here, the media is open. But I was told most of the media are subsidized by the government. So they have to follow what the government says. That was a surprise to me in a country like this.
Yeah, they have press support.
Mm.
And when they
but I have also to be fair. We've got our article. Thank you to you first. You published this article from Olive that makes sense and is open to be challenged. When you publish, you don't force people to trust what you say, but you express yourself. And I have also to be thankful to one media house in Copenhagen. They recently published an article from this embassy. So this is something good. And we also recently visited a media house in Helsinki. We sat with them, we told them the whole story, they listened to us, and they are open to working with whoever have something to share. But here in Sweden, you are the only ones making a huge difference.
Thank you.
I always see the government of Sweden, and I respect this, and I understand this. Again, because I tested insecurity and felt the nation and people dying. I'm a live testament. I always see them posting the support they provide to Ukraine. You'd support. Arms, not toys, arms. And I respect this. And I respect this because I believe the government of Sweden, those who take this decision are wise, and they do this for a reason, because they realize they know the weight of the threat to the citizens of Sweden. We respect this. You've never heard my president or my government criticizing this decision. Why would they criticize our defensive measures vis-à-vis FDLR, vis-à-vis Sadak army, vis-à-vis the threat of President Tshisekedi saying he's coming to overthrow? Why would they question our defensive measures? Why would they dare to say it is disproportionate? Why? For me, it's disrespectful. For me, it means they don't value lives of Rwandans. They don't even share borders with Ukraine, but they take huge measures, and we respect. We don't question. Not any single. You will never hear my president questioning defensive measures of Sweden. Why would they every day, every second, question our defensive measures? And we've had a genocide. They don't know what is a genocide. For me to sit and tell me your argument have disappeared is unfortunate, and is a slap in my face, and in the face of survivors of genocide. You cannot play with the genocide. You cannot. Rwanda is a country that should be really considered differently and respect any measure we take, because we know why we take these measures. This is another propaganda, because the minerals we receive from Congo go through an official channel. They are brought to Rwanda officially, and we are assessed by international organizations. And it is official. So we're trying to invest in this because we also have our own minerals. Those who drew the borders, they didn't take all the minerals only to Congo. It's the same volcanic soil in the Kivu and this part of Rwanda. When I was young, I was studying. When I was in primary school, I was studying about the cobalt, about the wolfram, about the cassiterite, about in Rutongo, in all these regions in Rwanda. So we have our own minerals, and the minerals we receive, it's not illegal. I will give you a brief of the situation of the minerals, and we follow the standards, and yeah.
So Rwanda is actually buying minerals from?
Yeah, we buy. And officially, I will give you a brief on this. It's on record.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Diane Gashumba, for this interview.
Thank you, Silvio. Thank you. Very much appreciated.